Dungeonborne just launched into early access and I can't stop playing. And I want to share with you a ton of the tips that I've learned over the 15-20 plus hours of gameplay to help you break in and hopefully break down that difficulty and curb of entry that I had to deal with, smashing my face into endless amounts of adventures. You can go ahead and navigate to any part of the video that interests you the most. I have the entire list of tips in the description marked as chapters, so just simply skip ahead to the parts that make the most sense to you, or maybe the things that interest you the most, like I said earlier. And if this video ends up helping you, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. Each one of those things helps this channel out in so many ways I can't even describe it. But let's get started here on my top tips for getting started in Dungeonborne. When you finally boot the game up, you'll be faced with creating a character. There's always this kind of analysis paralysis that goes into this portion, but please just choose whatever the fuck you want. Ignore what the internet is telling you to do. Just please play how you want. It's a free-to-play game too, so you didn't even invest money in this. Jump into whatever you want. Try it out. Get a feel for it. If you don't like it, at the absolute worst case scenario is that you've learned what other people are going to use against you if you see that class on the battlefield. But what I do want to let you guys know up ahead is that the classes are broken into 3 races. So the first 4, the fighter, the priest, the rogue, and the pyromancer, are all humans, meaning that humans have extra inventory space and can carry more loot. The next 2 are undead, the death knight and the cryomancer. Undead have soul energy, replenishing it by killing creatures and absorbing their souls, which is oftentimes used for a lot of their passives and or skills. Then lastly, the last 2 are Swordmaster and Druid, which are both elves. Elves can enter stealth by crouching and staying still, slowly recovering life, which I will talk about in this video. It's about 6 to 7 health every 4 or every 5 or 6 seconds or so, somewhere in between there. So it's not a ton of health, it's just a little bit of health that kind of edges you upwise. But what you should also know is none of this is permanent as far as your customization options. You can go ahead and swap off your face, your hair, your details, any of that at any point except for the name. So for example here, I can go ahead and press this button and we can make him not look like Dritz Doerden. I can look like anything else that I want to look like for the character, and it just goes ahead and saves. And for a free-to-play game, usually that's like pay-gated. Not here, you can just do it for free. A big part of Dungeonborne are your passives. You saw them during the character select screen, but you're probably wondering how they turn on. Well, if you go ahead and press tab, if you're back at the screen, you can even do this in the middle of the match. You'll see all of your stats down here at the bottom. Every time you level up, a stat will be chosen and it will go up by 1 point, making it so that you can get your passives online far easier using gear. And you can see that some of them either have a single passive, or in the case of dexterity for the Swordmaster, they have a double passive. So you can see here that this passive for psionic blades allows me to increase my critical strike chance by 50%, and the second one, it's in red right there because I need 72 dexterity, is going to allow me to slow enemies down by 60 for 5 seconds when I hit them with psionic blades. How you want to take a look at this is develop a play style that makes sense for you and the character you're playing. Hey, you know what? This character has a lot of passives linked to dexterity, and I actually really like the Psionic Blades ability for the Swordmaster, so I'm going to lean into that option for my passive choices, meaning that I'm going to choose any type of items that have dexterity on them to help me turn those passives on. Or maybe I just want the single passive because I want the critical strike chance, but now I want to worry about getting more health from my Psionic Blades from strength. A lot of passives will have a lot of abilities will apply to multiple stat points and passives. This is an example here where strength and dexterity both are going to give me advantages to my Psionic Blades. So I'm going to go for a Psionic Blades build by taking a look at those stats and getting the corresponding gear to add in to turn those passives on. This is something I didn't realize was in the game until hour 2. And I felt stupid for not knowing, but it's pretty much how you're going to make your build. But you can even say, hey, you know what? I'm going to eschew going down dexterity. I'm going to go into will, which is not something you typically would think of when you're going to a specific character, right? Like a Swordmaster, for example. But remember, every single stat point you put in also gives you a passive benefit. Will, for example, is going to increase my skill damage. So now I'm worried about Psionic Blades. This allows my Psionic Blades to be active more often, and just the raw capability of adding into will increases the damage of that skill being Psionic Blades. Big breath right there. So don't always think that you have to focus on a single stat. There are different stats that you might not think you need to focus on and still get quite a bit of benefit from your class. Here's a quick tip for my fellow Swordmaster bros. If you are playing a Swordmaster, make sure you're buying rusted swords in between every match. They're pretty inexpensive at only 25 gold. But what you'll do here is, as they socket in, you'll be able to use them as part of your abilities. And if you don't want to use high value weapons, you can go ahead and click this little cog right here. Automatic reloading right now is only set to low quality and common, but as you get up higher into the game, you've got more money, you've got more resources, you can set this higher and higher and higher. So if you are playing a Swordmaster, make sure you're buying those rusted swords, or if you're playing anyone that would maybe use bolts, they're really inexpensive, just go ahead and buy them. On the note of the rusted swords, another good thing to buy from the merchant is just bandages. Buy like one or two. It's a 300 life bomb that can really help you out in between fights, or if you're in a prolonged group fight, it's nice to be able to step to the side, use a bandage. It does take 6 seconds, so you're kind of leaving your team high and dry when you do that, but a lot of the time that 6 seconds just goes by in a blink. I've had plenty of my friends and myself even use it in the middle of a team fight and still come out on top because they were able to get a good 300 life bomb added back into their character. Remember that there are multiple maps and game modes in this game. While we did talk about the training room, there's also the Mithril Order, and the Mithril Order is a fun way that you can play the game. It is a 3v3 team deathmatch situation, in which case you will be given tons of gear. If you look at this right here, it says provides players with preset equipment for the selected class, and also if the player dies, the items brought into the match will not be lost. This is a great way to get an idea of how the build you're looking for is going to play itself out, how individual stats are going to scale, what items you should look for, what kind of abilities really work best with your play style. But what I'm also going to say is you can go ahead and do this, and you're on about a 1.5-minute timer. You can press custom game, create a room, let's just test, and if you have another friend, they can join in here with you, and you guys will be able to jump into the same thing with the Mithril Order. And you'll, rather than have to immediately jump into combat, you can test out different builds, different ways to approach these specific passives, whatever it is, to get a feel for what stats you want to focus on when you're adventuring, whatever the situation is. But this is a great way to get a sense for how your character plays, play along with a friend, do a little PvP action with each other to really train how you're going to approach combat. All sorts of situations, the custom game is a real great way to kind of help you break into a lot of the mechanics of the game that you maybe thought were a little too rushed, or you couldn't get enough hands-on during the normal play modes. Heirlooms are huge. I slept on them for a good chunk of my first couple hours of playing, but they are very easy to unlock, they're very easy to craft, and they are crucial to making sure you get really good gear online without sinking a ton into your currency. So you jump over here to the Heirloom tab, and you'll have the ability to dismantle things. You can dismantle anything that is, so this is a gray item, this would be a green item, and this would be a white item. You can dismantle anything that is white or higher, white, green, blue, whatever it is. You go ahead and dismantle it, and it will give you corresponding resources up here. You're gonna get rough white iron from common items, you're gonna get ilmenite ore from uncommon green items, or you'll get refined steel ore from magic items, and lastly, star fragments from epic or higher items. And then those, what are those called? Crafting materials will go into either armor or weapon choices of heirlooms. And you might be thinking, oh man, this is going to be so expensive to unlock. It's really not that bad. Ilmenite ore, okay, well now I can unlock Defender's Shield, and this is not on a per character basis. For example, I unlocked the Pathfinder's Blade on my Death Knight, and I unlocked the Plunderer's Blade on my Death Knight. I am currently playing on my Swordmaster. It's an account-wide unlock. So unlock the weapon that you're using the most of, and I chose the Plunderer's Blade because it applies to so many classes, and it allows me to just simply, you have two different currencies at the bottom in which you can either craft or unlock. So for example, here, let's go back to the shield. I can use white iron, so it's going to take me more white iron to unlock the Defender's Shield, but those are just common items. You find them all over the place. So make sure you're stockpiling tons of them. Or 50 ilmenite ore, which is green items. Whatever I've got more of, go ahead and use. Now, once I've done that, unlocked it, you can see I can craft it with a mithril token, which I don't know how to get those, but I do know how to get ilmenite ore, illuminati ore. So that's only 2 ore to make this weapon. I can go ahead and craft it, and it's made for me. Now, there are some caveats here. It does have a good set of weapon stats here, dexterity, crit strike, and also experience gain, which is huge. I can upgrade it and upgrade it from a green to a blue, and it will cost me Illuminati ore. I'm sorry, I'm just butchering that. But I can also add attachments to this, and we can enhance it with Illuminati ore again, refined steel, or I think it's Stardust at the very bottom here, right? Yeah. Oh, nope. Just refined. So this allows me to increase the functionality of these weapons and focus more on a specific playstyle. Maybe I'm trying to really go with a lightning build or holy build or elemental, whatever the hell I want to focus on. I can use it on here, append that to this weapon, and then swap it off if I decide to change the build. These heirloom items are a huge power spike, and I think it's the actual true progression. It is the actual true progression of the game. It's not a think there. Just know this. If I go to craft this again, you have already equipped or crafted an heirloom of this type in your inventory. So I can't go ahead, even though I'm a swordmaster, I can't have multiple plunder's blades crafted. So just keep those things in mind. You're going to have different variations online. Maybe if it's a ring, say for example, a ring of strength or a ring of dexterity, you want to make sure that you have just a bunch of variety here. Actually, I think with the rings, it's the ring type. It's like it's uncommon ring heirloom that is locked, not the actual ring of intelligence or strength or what have you. So just know these things, create these things, and start doing them now, and start saving up on those uncommon items now so you can get ahead of this. I didn't, and now I'm trying to play catch up already a couple of levels into the game and hours into the game. So one of the most crucial things you have to understand is that hit detection is in this game. So if you make a swing on someone's body, on their limbs, it does less damage than their head. And it's not necessarily that it does less damage, it's that the head, if it's unprotected, is a guaranteed critical hit. So I'm on a Blade Master right now, so let me show you what that's like. So this training dummy, this is in the training room. If I go ahead and hold control and see that this is just going to show me just 34, 34, 34, all those little tiny blips that just simply have a single set of explosions away from the center cursor. That's showing me that I'm only doing a standard hit. Sometimes it'll critical hit based off of your critical hit chance. But if I take a look at the swings on the head, if you watch the little blips around the center cursor, you'll see that there's going to be double, I don't know what you want to call them, double little hashes or marks or whatever. And the numbers will have an exclamation point next to them, denoting that it is a critical hit. So every time I swing on the head here, this is an unprotected headpiece, you can see, it's just nothing but crits. So, and that crescendos up because of the actual combo ability of the Swordmaster. But you can see here, you want to try to make sure that you're maximizing headshots if you are fighting a creature or any other person to get them down as quickly as possible. And if you kind of aim at the neck too, you'll see that some of these will hit body parts, some of them will hit head. So you want to also keep in mind how your weapons swing and your combos, which is our next tip. So every single class, when it comes to their melee approaches, they have different combos and swings. Like if you take, for example, the two-handed weapons on almost any character, it has a different style than, say, the two-hand weapons that we're using right now on our Swordmaster or on a Rogue. I unfortunately don't have a two-handed weapon. So for example here, if I go ahead and just tap left-click, this is the beginning of the combo. I didn't press it 3 times, that's just the combo. And if I hit it again, and then rapidly in succession, oh, that's not supposed to happen. If I hit it again, then again, they'll go into another one. So there's a combo that will just kind of have a single hit. It'll have a flurry of hits. It just depends on what weapon combination you're using. Use this to your best advantage so you understand how your combos work. Take, for example, the two-hand weapons on the Swordmaster. There is mobility in this combo. So if I sit here and just press this, and then this again, it lunges me forward. So I want to know these things so that if I'm around my buddies, I don't want to accidentally hit any of them, cause any kind of friendly fire. But I also want to know that I can chain this into a third combo that will give me even more damage and mobility. Use these combos, understand these combos, spend time in training to get a sense for the timing of these combos so you know when to hang back and defend or when to actually press the advantage. And sort of a secondary tip to the combos notion is knowing that there is crescendoing damage as you proceed through a combo. So 1 swipe, 2 swipes, and then a 3rd swipe will do different amounts of damage. It just depends on, is it a thrust, is it a slash, where am I hitting, all those things. And it's also worth noting too, like I was saying, just to kind of illustrate this more, you can see the different styles of damage or the different style of attack that is coming in from the different weapon types. So for example, the two-handed weapon is just a 2/1 stab combo. Slash, slash, stab. And knowing these things helps you sort of place yourself in better situations. You're not going to move, or you're not going to stay static. You're going to move left to right. You're going to back around. You're going to do certain things. So if you know you've swung like this, you've swung like this, you can kind of line yourself up to then come forward in with the stab. Knowing how these combos are going to unfold before you click the button and how you're going to position yourself is going to make sure that you can actually take down your opponent in PvP or whenever you encounter them in the middle of an adventure. Charge up your weapons. So the two-handed weapon here, if I hold down left click, I lunge forward and do a big little charge there. A big little charge is an oxymoron, but it's neither here nor there. If I hold down with a sword and board, I go into a defensive stance, and then I can release and then charge and hit again with the big thrust. The nice thing here is if you watch my shield, it glows white, showing me that I'm a little bit of a defensive stance here. So this allows me to get a little bit of defense out while also having a charge. Or take this weapon combination, for example. If I hold down left click, I shoot a little frost thing and it imbues my weapon with frost, so I can do frost damage. You can see that's a different color number right below the white number. You got that light blue showing me I'm doing a little bit of frost. Or if I switch over here to my staff, holding it down, we'll do a successive hit, and then at the last part of it, it'll do a little explosion. Here's a little bit of a value part of this tip. If you're using, say, a staff, and you can see that little bar above the staff at the bottom there, it says number 2, got that little red bar, it'll gradually replenish. But if you hold down right click, it will recharge that staff a lot quicker, so you're not just sitting there. This is a good thing to do in the interim moments in between fights as you're moving from room to room with your crew, whatever it is. This allows you to get a little bit more playability out of your staff rather than just simply holding this down and having to wait all the way until you have to let it gradually recharge. You can just use this to get back up and going quicker. And another charge for our Swordmaster is holding it down and having this be used to break defense. All these charge abilities that you're going to get from every single weapon type, from every single class combination, whatever you're doing is going to have a different effect. Maybe it's the charge effect of the two-handed weapon, the parrying effect and charge effect of the sword and board, or the slow down capability of the ice weaponry, the guard break or break defense of the two-handed. Just make sure you're looking at these in the weapon tips in the lower right-hand corner to better understand what weapons you're using. Jumping into one of your first adventures, you're going to see a map. And on that map are a number of little things. You probably don't know what they mean. But I will tell you that these kind of like little heads or weapons, those are quote-unquote boss creatures that have a higher chance to drop higher item rarity items. Other than that, you see these little icons here. Those are ritual scrolls. And those are going to allow you to, someone's going to sneak up on me right now in the middle of a video. How dare he? But those little icons there are going to allow you to access a exit portal without giving away your location. And finally, these are set exit portals that open up and unlock at set intervals of the match. So be aware of those if you're trying to get out in a pinch. It can be pretty easy to just simply face tank things in PVM. But what I really want you to think about is moving around, not just letting them swing at you, not just simply going like this, trying to kill them as fast as you can. That's a good way to just lose unnecessary amounts of health. Dodge, move around, and go ahead and flank them, getting kind of back attack damage on if you're a rogue, whatever the situation is. You don't need to face tank stuff. In fact, I strongly encourage you not to. A lot of the enemies in the game are pretty easy to simply sidestep, and that's going to be a big crucial way to approach this game because you want to make sure you have as much health as possible for the unlikely chance that, well, the very likely chance that you get ambushed in the middle of an adventure. Whatever the situation is, make sure that you are taking any kind of reduced damage you can. And in the case of these flyers, don't be afraid to jump. Jumps gives you a pretty good advantage point on them if they're above you, whatever it is, or in my case, you swing your weapons around like an idiot, or crouch. There are the ones that kind of scuttle on the ground. My friends and I have called ground dragons. Crouching and facing them is a good way to just knock them out easily, or jumping and swiping through the air if they're these like BJ stingas like this, or whatever it is that's up in the air. You just saw it first. There's no fall damage in this game. So if you see a big precipice, go ahead and jump right on off. While of course you should be looting chests when you do find them if you've got the appropriate amount of time, make sure you also take a look at shelves and whatnot to get any kind of goodies. As you can see, there's potions around here, there's statue replicas, there's mugs. Pick them up if you've got room, especially if you're a human who has that increased carry capacity. Otherwise, feel free to move on. But having these little bits gives you just a bit of a leg up when it comes to having some extra money at the very beginning of the game. Remember, if you are playing an elf, if you hold down control or use the control toggle, every around 5-6 seconds, you will get somewhere between 7 to 8 health. You can see that's happening there at the very bottom of the screen. We're going to go from 444 up to like 450, 451. There you go, just happened again. This is a great way to get a little bit of health, but honestly, in situations where you're trying to push through an adventure, I would just keep going, try to find bandages, try to find heal potions, stuff like that, then use this ability, but it is present if you want to use it. Barrels, crates, everything, destroy it. Destroy it if you can, because what this allows you to do is get maybe some torches if you needed them, but what's really nice is that if you do this properly, you should hope to be able to get gold. It's a quick, easy way to just get tons of gold in adventures so that you come out of them with lots of gold. That wasn't supposed to be there. There you go, there's more gold right there. And now we're up to 40 and we just destroyed 2 sets of boxes. So make sure you take advantage as best you can. If you are playing maybe a rogue or a swordmaster, rogue can't do this unfortunately, but swordmaster can. Using a two-handed weapon usually pops open those barrels or those crates in one hit versus this, I have to do a bit of a flurry. So try and destroy everything you can. There's some things of course that you can't. Even the size of them doesn't kind of tricks me out. There we go. That's some gold. But make sure you do that as much as you can to get as much gold as you can. Another thing is blocking. Not everything in the game can just be fixed or killed with an unlimited amount of slashing. This is not Elden Ring. Just like Elden Ring and or a Dark Souls game, don't get cocky. Don't jump in there and just keep slashing because you never know if that second swing is going to take you out and kill you. If you keep your block up, you move around. Even if a swing does actually catch you, you're not going to take the max amount of damage. Your block is your best friend in PvP or in PvE. Make sure you're using it. Potions are a huge part of the game, especially if you're playing any class that uses mana. It's going to be absolutely dire for you. But you want to make sure you use stuff like health potions outside of combat so that you're constantly replenishing health in between the big moments in which you want to fight. But there's other potions I really want you to focus on. They're usually kind of these like half full ones like this. They're called elixirs. But if you look at this one, for example, drink to restore 1 life per second, usable only in the current adventure. The effect lasts until you escape or die. There's another one that's going to reduce your damage. There's another one that increases your critical strike chance. I was sleeping on these and just holding them in my back pocket, not knowing that they were an effect that lasts the entire adventure. So if you get these in the beginning of the adventure, you quaff them, they're going to be able to give you a little bit more survivability, a little bit more damage throughout the adventure, or towards the end, that little bit extra you need to push to the end. Make sure you take these and drink them as soon as you find them. You're going to see the effect appear in the lower left part of the screen right over here. So they'll always be active for you until this adventure ends. You've probably already seen this in your game already, but depending upon the light that emanates from a corpse, that's going to show you the highest rarity item on that corpse. So you can see we have a common or a blue in this case. And if I go ahead and take a look at it, it's going to reflect that. But if there was a green, I would then get that as well. So this shows me it's a magic craft. Its sell value is 1,000. It's worth taking. Versus this, maybe I can skip it. But just keep in mind, if you do that, you won't be able to even lose it. This might actually have something like, okay, well in this case it's a total dud, right? But maybe it has an elixir you need or something of the sort. So oftentimes if you have the time, it's worth checking on the common corpses, even though you want to really focus on the green and blues for crafting materials and for gold. And another big tip here is the lost item system. So if you're playing with your friends and one of them dies with items that they brought into the match, there will be a little symbol that denotes that. If you pick them up and the second that you go to extract or use an exit portal, once you make it through, it will automatically send those items back to your friend. So let's say they have like a full set of blue items on. They're like, hey dude, grab all the items on my corpse that are blue. You can snag them. And as you go to use the exit portal, it'll auto send all those blue items that they came into the match with back to them. This of course does not cover any items that they freshly found during that adventure, but still this is a cool way to kind of help your buddy out if they died in the middle of a team fight right before an extract or an exit portal. When you come to an escape portal, try to clear it out a little bit before you jump into it. You don't know if you're going to come across other people, whatever the situation is, and all they have to do is hit you once, and it completely interrupts your escape. So making sure that your character is properly set up for an escape allows you to actually make the escape. So if you take, for example, this situation, I didn't really clear anything else out except from that one guy. So if I start this escape here, it's going to ping the map, let people know, hey, I'm trying to escape. And maybe that guy in front of me is going to pat closer to me, and then he activates and aggroes, and then he hits me, and I cannot make it out. There is nothing more frustrating than getting to a 90% and failing on trying to activate an exit portal. Or if you're trying to record a video and someone steps into your active exit portal rather than you, which would piss me off right now, but still, we made it. Try to make sure you clear out those rooms before you do this, and don't see an exit portal as a chance to just run into it. Try to get the exit off. You're just not going to make it work. You have to clear things out. You have to make sure it's safe enough, or that your back is covered by your friends before you even start. But moreover, maybe you have a friend who has a ton of gear and they're a fighter. You can activate the portal for them, and then they can go in. Just because you've activated it doesn't mean you're the only one that's allowed to go into it. This can be a great way if you're playing with friends to kind of set them up for success if they've got a lot of good gear on or whatever the situation is. One of the last tabs I want to talk about is the trade tab, where you are either going to purchase, sell, or just have your stash of purchases. And in this tab, you're going to be able to purchase green items. This is a great way to just jump into stuff. You can say, okay, let me see magic. You can see it's not going to really work here, right? But let's just say we have item rarity all. And what you can see from this list here is a bunch of items. Well, you can refresh this. Like maybe you don't need a sturdy necklace of faith of, or of stamina. We're going to press this refresh button on the bottom. Okay, now we have a will necklace or traveler's sword. Okay, cool. That's the one-handed sword, but where's the two-handed sword? We're going to refresh this until, oh, there it is. Cool. There's the long sword. So refreshing this is a great way to just get some junk items that you can wear to give yourself a little bit of an edge in a playthrough. And you can see these are really inexpensive, but they're going to be enough to turn on some of your passives so your character has a little bit more functionality in the game. So let's take a look at this Wanderer's Vest, for example. I'm going to left click on it. It shows the listing, shows how much gold I've got, how much I'll have, so on and so forth. But if I press buy, purchase successful. Okay, sometimes it'll say item sold out. And when that happened, I thought it was a bug because I did not see item sold out. It'll pop up right here. It'll tell you item sold out. If it didn't go through, your money won't go down, of course, but it won't appear here in my purchases. And that's my, what's it called? Oh, inventory's full. Whoopsies. There's my item that I've just purchased. And it, of course, will have a random attribute modifier, whatever it is. It's just a really nice way to stack your character up really quickly rather than having to always go in naked. And I'm at 43,000 gold right now. I could buy this entire page and it still is not going to take a huge chunk out of me, right? If I bought everything here listed at 1K, it's 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, like 16,000, and still have enough to do plenty more. So don't look at this as like, oh, I'm just going to sink costs, sunk cost. It's going to be a way to just give you that little bit of an edge up when it comes to combat so that you're jumping in. Okay, now I've got more intelligence here, which is not going to help my character at all. But still, it's going to help me with critical strike damage and some physical resistance. Whatever the situation is, don't be afraid to use that trade tab. Now, there is the auction tab here where you can bid on things that looks like a mobile app, or there's the auction thing that you go to the auction house listings. I've not even dabbled with that. If you have, you've purchased this and you want to give some notes on it, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below, but I haven't even touched this. I've just been spanking around. Is that a term? I've just been fucking around with the buyout trades that you can really get a lot of really good advantage out of. We've talked about so many things in this video, but I do want to really encourage you to knock out your quests. It's just free gold. It's free crafting materials, right? You're going to get tons of these cloudy life essence, ton of this gold. Do your dailies, do your weeklies, work on some of the seasonals, try and put some progression into those. But what you should also really know is that this is the game's way of telling you to play other characters. Don't feel locked into the one that you've chosen. I've already played the Priest, the Death Knight, the Fighter in a different playtest. What's the one I'm playing right now? The Swordmaster. So there's tons of ways to approach this game. And I really encourage you to not just get married to one class. Try to knock out these dailies after like a stint of playing with your friends. go and play a little bit of solo play, do some casual stuff. Killing 10 monsters as a rogue, I don't even have a rogue created. I could create one and knock this daily out in a pretty quick amount of time and still come back to playing my, let's just say, a druid or whatever my main is. In fact, doing both of these at the same time is pretty easy, right? Kill 10 monsters as a rogue and open 10 chests as a human. Well, the rogue is a human. So you can make sure to double these dailies or weeklies up so that you knock out the quests as effectively as possible. One of my final notes here is that this is a game of reps. Just get the reps in, jump into the fire, go ahead and put yourself into it. Jump in, press ready, and die a bunch of times, over and over and over and over. You're gonna get a bunch of gold, maybe you'll extract a little bit more than you thought you would, and don't be afraid to extract early. You don't need to loot goblin the entire map until your inventory's full. Maybe there's an escape portal right in front of you, just take it, get out with what you got, go ahead and learn the lesson and move on. And if you die, remember, you come back with exactly what you started the game with. So it's enough to get into another match. So don't feel like if you're a veteran of Hunt Showdown, you can kill yourself down to bankruptcy. In this case, just go ahead and have fun. Put yourself into it. Every time you die, just press ready again. You'll learn quicker than if you sit there and try to analyze everything, or if you try to get different gear and different approaches to things. You're better off just to get more reps in, learn the combat system, learn how to position yourself, how to move left, right, whatever it is in combat with another enemy. Especially when it comes to PVM, it's all really about placing yourself properly and dodging rather than just face-taking everything in this game. So hopefully this helps you out in trying to crack the code of Dungeonborne. At that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully these tips helped you out in jumping into Dungeonborne. Some of them aren't really groundbreaking. Some of them you probably already knew. Some of them hopefully are new things that kind of change your perspective on how you're going to approach certain classes, certain play styles, or maybe it's just little things you just had no idea where existed. Whatever it is, I hope you now have a better understanding. Conversely, too, if you have some really good tips that you've learned, maybe from other videos, other content creators, Reddit posts, whatever it is, go ahead and share that information below. I love to make sure that as much information is disseminated out to the people as possible. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.